Dad, something's wrong with Mom. About half an hour after I ate the cake my husband brought home to celebrate our anniversary, I started feeling weak and collapsed. Our daughter begged my husband to help, but he didn't seem to care. He just said, "Don't worry, she'll be fine." With a strange smile, he left us, with me struggling and our daughter crying, as if he was happy his plan had worked. "Man, are you okay?" my daughter cried, and I managed to say, "I'm alright, sweetheart." Slowly, I got up and gave her a reassuring smile to calm her down. I knew the truth was the one in control, and soon, those who thought they had succeeded would face the consequences. My name is Mia, I'm 32, and I work in an office. I live with my 6-year-old daughter, Emma, and my husband, Ryan, who is also 32. We used to have a happy life, with Ryan being a loving father, but about a year ago, he started acting cold toward me. I wondered if I had done something wrong but couldn't think of anything. One day, he said, "You haven't aged." "Ah, well, you're a 32-year-old hack, after all." "That's harsh," I replied. "You're the same age as me." But he just went on, "Your clothes and makeup look old and out of style. Can you dress up like other people?" I was confused and hurt. He never used to say such mean things. I couldn't understand why he'd changed, and it left me feeling awful. Emma quickly defended me, saying, "Mom is beautiful. Don't say things like that." But Ryan just ignored her and left the house. He didn't just hurt me with words, would completely ignore me at times. If I woke up early to make his lunch, he'd get angry if he didn't like it. "Don't put frozen food in there. You're slacking off," he once yelled, even throwing the lunch I'd made into the trash. I started getting up early to prepare side dishes for meals. Emma, my daughter, always cheered me on, saying, "Mom's cooking is delicious," but even that seemed to annoy Brian. "Emma might not understand, but your mom isn't doing her job right, which is why I'm advising her," he said. "That's not true. Mom's doing her best. It's Dad who's in the wrong," Emma replied. Brian glared at me with disgust, and I saw no trace of the kind person he once was. We rarely used to argue, so I couldn't understand what had caused such a change in him. Then something else started bothering me. Brian, who was never that interested in work, began coming home late, claiming he had overtime, and even started working on weekends. I wondered if he might be having an affair, but I didn't have any proof. I wanted to believe in him. He was still providing for our family and seemed to be a good father to Emma, so I kept hoping he returned to his kind self. However, one day, I noticed something strange. When I updated the bank account passbook, which we were saving for Emma's future education, I found that the balance had gone down. There were multiple withdrawals over the past 6 months, $500 here, $1,000, they're adding up to $10,000. Brian was the only other person who could access that account. "The money we were saving for Emma has gone down. Did you withdraw it?" I asked. "Yeah, I lent it to a friend who was in debt," he said casually. "Who is this friend that you're helping by taking from Emma's savings?" I questioned. "That's none of your business," he replied, showing no guilt at all. It didn't make sense why he'd keep taking money out in small amounts if it was to help a friend. "That money was for Emma's future," I argued. "So what? It's my money since the account is in my name. Stop complaining," he snapped. "That's not right. I work too and put money into that account," I said. Suddenly, Brian shouted, "Shut up," and threw the remote control. It flew past my face, barely missing me. "What are you doing? That's dangerous," I yelled. "You're my wife. How dare you try to control me? You should just obey me," he said, refusing to listen. Our relationship continued to get worse, and I began to wonder if there was any hope of fixing things. One night, I woke up and heard Brian talking to someone on the phone from the balcony, looking forward to executing it on our wedding anniversary, he said. I was shocked. It sounded like a terrible plan, and I felt both sadness and a growing anger at how he had changed. The next day, I decided to check the computer in his study, remembering the password from the one time I borrowed it long ago. My hands shook as I looked through his files. and my fears were confirmed. Brian was indeed having an affair. There were many messages exchanged with an unknown woman. I was shocked to see the truth I had feared laid out clearly before me. From the messages on Brian's computer, I also discovered his shocking plan. So that's what he's up to, I thought. But I wasn't going to let him get away with it. Edie came up with a plan of my own. As expected, a few days before our wedding anniversary, Brian suddenly started acting nice. After all his insults and harsh words, his sudden kindness felt strange and made me uneasy. It was obvious he was getting ready to carry out his plan. Our anniversary is coming up, he mentioned casually. Oh, you remembered, I replied. Of course, it's an important day for us. I know I've been distant because of work, and I feel bad about it, he said, raising his eyebrows dramatically. Maybe I haven't been very thoughtful myself. I'm sorry, I answered, pretending to be moved. Let's have a great day on our anniversary. Just the family, he said, smiling. Thank you, I'll make a big dinner, I replied, pretending to be happy. Part of me wished his kindness was genuine, but deep down, I knew better. Finally, our anniversary arrived. I made all of Brian and Emma's favorite dishes, and Emma was thrilled. Oh wow, it looks delicious. I can't wait for Daddy to come home, she said, dancing with excitement, completely unaware of what was really going on. When Brian came home, he handed me a bouquet and a cake. It's not much, but I thought these modest flowers suited you, he said with a smile. My heart raced, was putting on quite an act. Thank you for the lovely flowers, I said as I put them in a vase. Then we settled down for a pleasant dinner. At last, it was time for dessert. Brian had brought 3 types of cake: chocolate, strawberry, and cheesecake. Oh, Emma, I'd like to try the chocolate cake today. Could I have it? I asked, knowing how much she loved chocolate cake. She looked surprised. But you always let me have the chocolate. Okay, you can't have it today, she said sweetly. I caught Brian shudder slightly at our exchange. Well, I'll have the cheesecake, I announced. When Emma reached for her cake, Brian quickly stopped her, looking nervous. Maybe not the cheesecake, Emma. It might have a bit of alcohol, he stammered, grabbing the strawberry cake for himself. Since when do you like strawberries? I asked, raising an eyebrow. I just do, he muttered, trying to act casual. Emma happily started on her chocolate cake, completely unaware, while I went for the cheesecake, watching as Brian devoured his cake in record time. His reaction confirmed my suspicions. As I picked up my fork, he looked uneasy and swallowed hard, avoiding my gaze. Why don't you and Emma go ahead and enjoy the cake? He suggested, clearly on edge. I want to savor my cake, I said loudly, making sure Brian heard me. He left it off, then took Emma to give her a bath. When he came back later and saw the empty plate where the cheesecake had been, he looked visibly relieved. About 10 minutes later, I clutched my chest, calling out, "Help me," and collapsed to the floor, pretending to struggle and foam at the mouth. Emma, panicking, shouted, "Papa, Mommy collapsed and isn't breathing right. Help." But Brian just looked over calmly and said, "Don't worry, just leave her," before he walked out of the house, leaving a scared Emma alone with me. As soon as I was sure he was gone, I sat her day up, just as I thought. I muttered, seeing that my little act had forced Brian to reveal his intentions. Emma, seeing me come back to life so quickly, was both shocked and relieved. "Ma'am, are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine, sweetie. It was just a prank," I reassured her with a smile. Emma, realizing everything was okay, let out a mix of laughter and tears. Later, after tucking her into bed, I waited for Brian to return. Soon, I heard the front door open. Brian called out in a hushed voice, "Emma, I got medicine for Mom. It'll be okay now." He sounded like he thought everything had gone according to his plan. I stepped out from the shadows and tapped him on the shoulder. "What do you mean? It's going to be okay?" Brian jumped back, his face pale with shock. Why are you still alive?" he stammered, scrambling for an excuse. I ran outside to get help when I saw you collapse, but there wasn't anyone around. so I went to get some medicine instead. Oh, really? I replied, crossing my arms. How thoughtful. And where's this medicine you supposedly bought? His face went blank. I must have left it at the pharmacy, he mumbled weakly. I shook my head, unimpressed, then took out my phone and played a recording. Brian's voice echoed in the room. Soon, I'll be together with you, and the money will come in. That flower is really dangerous, isn't it? I need to make sure our daughter doesn't accidentally eat it. Brian's face turned ghostly white. Where did you get that? Remember that night 2 weeks ago, on the balcony? I heard you talking to someone on the phone, so I recorded it. I fixed him with a steady gaze. And as for the cake, did you really think I'd eat it, knowing it was poisoned? I only pretended. I kept the cake as evidence, I said, holding up the cheesecake in a plastic bag. The foam I'd used was just marinade from egg whites. Brian stared at me, stunned. You tricked me. Oh, Brian, I replied calmly. You're the one who tried to trick me. I knew everything about your plan from checking your computer. Brian's scheme was to give me a bouquet and a cake for our anniversary. But he had poisoned the cake using the flowers. His plan was clever. If the police investigated, he could claim the poison got into my mouth. When I arranged the flowers in the vase and then ate the cake without washing my hands. Suddenly, Brian stepped toward me, his face twisted in anger. Hand over that evidence, he demanded. Not so fast, I said, keeping my distance. I've already called the police, and they're on their way. Plus, this room is under surveillance, so everything has been recorded. Brian frowned, eyes wide with panic. No, you're lying. He dropped to his knees, grabbing at me desperately. Please, I'm sorry. I was influenced by someone else. I didn't want to go through with it. Please tell the police it was all a misunderstanding. It's too late, Brian. And as for Emma, I continued, she deserves better than a father who'd even think of doing this. I'll change, I swear. I'll be a good husband and father, he cried, his face wet with tears. Just then, the police arrived, and Brian was taken away, still screaming and begging. Later, both he and his mistress were found guilty of attempted murder. Naturally, I divorced him, demanding $2,000 in damages and $10,000 in child support, which his parents paid on his behalf. They promised to make him work and repay them once he's released. I also demanded $2,000 in damages from his mistress. Her parents paid, and she was disowned and fired from Brian's company. Now, Emma and I have moved back to my parents' home, where we're living a peaceful, happy life. To protect her, I simply told Emma that her father had to work far away. Surrounded by love from me and my parents, Emma is growing up healthy and happy, and I'm determined to give her the best life possible.